called? This clip I saw the other day on a Minecraft subreddit. It was this guy, Thor. I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of him before, but
I believe that in 2025 he will be against the Stop Killing Games movement and everyone will call him stupid.
oh well, would you look at that? I predicted it completely. I was completely right, guys. I tried to warn you. Look, the proof is in the pudding. You just saw the clip. I tried to warn you. Hello, heralds, and welcome to the Harbinger. I'm your host, PVZ, the Harbinger, here today with clickbait. Because I technically didn't predict or really even say anything about Thor, but the thumbnail and the title was too good to pass up. Today I'm here to talk about Pirate Softwares, now how he's just this big, arrogant, egotistical idiot. Over 1 year ago, I saw this clip of this guy that was posted on a Minecraft subreddit. Basically, in this clip, Thor talks about how he hates Mojang and thinks that they're incredibly lazy programmers that spend a year doing something he could do in a day. I didn't know who this guy was, but the things he was saying were just absolute dogshit takes. So in my video talking about the Minecraft community, I called him out for being a moron. And for some reason, this clip had hundreds of upvotes. Sure, there were a few people calling him out in the comments, which I don't actually remember, but when I look back at the clip now, there are a lot more than I remember. But still, there are comments supporting this guy. So I just found it weird how someone so dumb could have such a following. I just assumed that this guy was some master coder with a somewhat large following. Remember that master coder part for later. But I just had this feeling that someone so dumb can't possibly be that good at coding. But I had no proof, so I just moved on, thinking he's just some moron on the internet. So I tried to move on, but every now and then I would see a clip of him and I would just think to myself, dang, this guy's an idiot. And I only really thought this purely based on one clip that I've seen of him. It wasn't until he got into some drama with World of Warcraft where I think more people started seeing him as this arrogant and selfish person. Because what happened there was he was completely selfish and some sort of hardcore server, and he retreated when people tell him to not retreat, or he didn't, or he had mana and could use whatever. He was being selfish, and he knew he was being selfish, but he's pretending that he wasn't. And he was literally just pulling a mini lad because he went off and acted like everyone around him is the problem and that he's this precious little boy who can't do anything wrong, when in fact his ego is bigger than mini lad's obsession with. Besides this WoW controversy, it also sparked controversy, mainly just for me. Uh, he talked about fast travel in this one game and how he doesn't like it, which incredibly stupid. I, for one, absolutely love fast travel. I think fast travel is very important in any kind of open world game, and mainly the reason why I stopped playing a lot of games. Hollow Knight, I stopped playing that because of fast travel. Well, I didn't stop playing it. I hate that game because of fast travel. Fallout New Vegas, I stopped playing that because it didn't have fast travel. Uh, what else? I feel like I've stopped playing a lot of other games because of fast travel. But basically, I believe fast travel is very important and is very necessary for basically any kind of open world games. And him just not liking it just made me hate him even more because it's just such a necessity to a lot of different games. And after those things, I started feeling a little vindicated for hating on him because it wasn't just based off one clip where he says something stupid. It's a pattern of him just being dumb. But I still felt bad because people still supported him and didn't really see him as much as a prick as he actually is. Now we flash forward to a few months ago where this movement called Stop Killing Games, which focused on preserving games online, started. This movement isn't something that I heard about until I saw Thor was against it. Thor, bless his tiny little brain, thought that this movement would actually end up hurting games. So when I heard that he was against something that is literally good, and everyone realized that this guy was an idiot, I felt so vindicated. All this time, I knew who was a moron, but I just couldn't prove it. And this movement proved not only to me, but to the world, that Thor is stupid. And the worst part about this is Thor didn't just disagree with the movement, he refused to believe he was wrong, which is the entire reason why people realize that this guy is a fucking moron. Because of this backlash, people started looking through his history and found mountains of evidence of him just being this entitled prick who's full of himself. The more things people found out about him, the more people started to dislike him. I mean, he pretends to be this super smart guy who can solve complex puzzles, when in reality he just looks up the answer and pretends like he figured it out. I mean, this guy just gets so butthurt over a comment from a guild in WoW, he decides to just use them as content and fight their guild. And when the guild actually buttfucks them, he literally just quits the game over the war he started. And also, remember when I mentioned that this guy is some master coder? Well, it turns out he codes like dog shit. But he's so full of himself that he's convinced himself otherwise. His dad worked at Blizzard, right? And because of nepotism, he also got a job at Blizzard. And because he's a second generation Blizzard employee, which he almost never talks about, he thinks that he's just automatically some genius coder, when in reality, all he really did at Blizzard was browse Reddit all day. And outside of Blizzard, this guy makes a game, right? And it's quite literally just an Undertale clone, which I don't really care about Undertale, so who cares about it being a clone? But the main problem is that it's been in development for like 20 years, and there's literally been no updates. But he brags about how good the coding is, and how funny the dialogue is, and how he sniffs his own fart, blah 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 blah. So the game is unfinished, and it's not very good. So when people started talking about him and thus his game again, they were starting to leave reviews hating on it because they've realized I've had this game for multiple years and it still has not been worked on. So might as well leave a bad review. And a lot of people were talking about just how bad this game is. But Thor just can't accept that, and instead he goes out of his way to tell people, oh, the reviews aren't real, there's not a bunch of people reviewing it, it's 1, 2 people reviewing it. They aren't hating on him. The game isn't actually bad, people are just hating on it because they hate him. And it's just not true. The game is just actually bad and people don't like it and realize the game is bad. At the end of the day, I was completely right about my feelings for this guy. He's just some moron on the internet who is not only full of himself, but is also just plain stupid. But if you really want to know more about what this guy has done, I encourage you to watch the video Nogla and Terrorizer React. They go a lot more in depth about a lot of the things, which include him being a furry, which is a huge surprise to me. But with all that being said, I have been your host, PVZ, the Harbinger. Let me know in the comments what you think about Door, and if you think I actually did predict him being an idiot, or if I'm just clickbaiting. Also, if you want to see that original video where I talk about the clip, I have it in the description, probably in the comments too, just be safe. It's the Minecraft community video. It's also on the channel, so take like 5 seconds to look through. But remember to reap what you sow, and bye-bye.